Do you know what day it is?
It's October 3rd.
And that is not only Mean Girls Day, it's also officially Taylor Swift's new album launch day. I'm recording this video in the past so that I can edit it and release it on October 3rd, so I have not yet listened to the album, but I'm sure by the time you're watching this video, I've probably listened to Eldest Daughter at least 5 times. So in honor of pop culture's most glamorous cat lady, I figured that I'd give you some home-based tips for how to be a cat lover and also have an air of glamour and aesthetic to your home.
Aesthetics are important to me.
As a former showgirl myself,
I'm like a monkey in a coconut tree.
I am well accustomed to being able to take something slightly less glamorous and making it more glamorous.
I'd never seen anybody so glamorous.
Basically, I just want to help make your cat lady existence look a little less like this. And a little more like this.
There, now, Duchess. That's better.
Doesn't care about clothes or money.
So first up, I want to set the stage for what it's like to be backstage as a showgirl. It's usually in some very unglamorous location, like a garage or a closet, and you're trying to become the most glamorous version of yourself. And sometimes what helps with that is creating a sense of ambiance.
This is a diner, we don't do ambiance.
So in honor of that, we are now in the less glamorous backstage area of my bathroom, where we have my first tip: get yourself a covered litter box. Covering the litter box helps to contain any smells. I'm very proud of myself that throughout my adult life, I've had people come to my home and specifically say that it doesn't smell like a cat lives there. And I think part of that is the covered litter box. The other thing that you can do to avoid getting sort of like the walking on a rocky sandy beach effect that litter tends to have whenever it's scattered across the floor, get a litter box that causes a little bit of a pause as the cats come out. And that is one that has a top exit. Because what happens is when they jump up onto the surface that's at the top of the litter box, the litter that would have been on the floor gets off their paws up there, and then it's really easy to just scoot back into the litter box. You don't end up stepping on it all the time. I used to use the clay litter. Not only is it not the healthiest for your cats because they can lick it, and if it's a clumping clay litter, it doesn't do great things for their gut when they clean it off their paws. It also is usually pretty dusty. It smells pretty bad on its own before there's even any cat business in the litter box, and it's just not glamorous. So I am obsessed with the litter that I found about 5 years ago, which is a clumping tofu litter. I'll put the brand that I use up here, but there are several good brands on the market. Some of them come scented. I prefer the unscented because I actually find that the litter itself kind of smells a little sweet, almost like a vanilla or an ice cream smell to it.
Ice cream?
Now, not in a way that it would if it was in your face perfumed, but the natural scent of the tofu, of the soy product, has this just subtle sweetness to it that is actually really kind of nice. And even as it gets more used, it still maintains a certain level of sweetness to the smell of the litter. And that helps to kind of dull down the smells of the things that happen in the litter box. The other thing that's really nice about it is that it comes in pellet form, and it's a little harder to track out. It doesn't track quite as much out, to the point that I actually usually can just pick up a couple pellets and just throw them back in, and I don't have to really like sweep a bunch of litter off the floor. And then the best thing about a true plain tofu litter that doesn't have any sort of clay additives or any other materials in it is that it's also flushable. And if you're worried about your pipes, I always live in 1920s buildings and I've had no problems with it. You can kind of watch it declump. Like you can watch it kind of dissolve into like a slush that's easily flushed. So if you really are concerned, just dump it in the toilet and wait a few minutes and come back and flush it. You'll see it has already practically disintegrated. And it's by far my number one tip. If your cat is adaptable in regards to litter, switch to a tofu-based litter. And if you have an automatic cleaning litter box, there is a brand that makes them in a finer grain, and they can go through the little sifting process that that litter box has. So tip number 1, to make your backstage area more like sweat and vanilla perfume.
You see what I did there?
is to get a clumping, clay-free tofu litter and thank me later. So the next few tips that I have to do with aesthetic, because every good showgirl knows how to make herself look more glamorous and more presentable. The first thing that I want to talk about is de-cat hairing your furniture, your belongings, yourself. And I have two devices that I like to use for this. One was an absolute hands down favorite for a long time, but I think I've kind of worn it out and it was cheaper than some of the other ones on the market. So this might be an item that you want to spring for the more expensive one just for longevity. But I have had this little device from a company called TLOAS for a little over a year, and it works like one of those sort of sticky lint rollers that you kind of get lint off your clothes, but you have to do a lot of waste because you need to throw stuff away and it gets stuck to everything. This is a non-wasteful version of that, and it works through static electricity. So instead of just going a straight one way or the other way like you would with the roller, this is a back and forth motion. And as you do that, it creates static electricity and contains some of the fur, the hair, the lint inside this chamber. And then you just clean it out and you throw it away. As I said though, this one was amazing when I first got it and it's kind of worn out or something. So I'm gonna look into a higher value replacement. I will link this one below, but just know that I might recommend a different brand just to be able to use it longer than a year and have it still work. The other thing that I use whenever that fails, if I'm not dealing with delicate upholstery or clothing, is this little thing. Again, there are several incarnations of this on the market. This one I like because it has several different options to kind of comb up, especially fur from rugs. But my favorite and most used one is this little wire device right here. And it essentially like claws into the carpet and pulls up the fur that could be stuck in the fibers. So I will do this on a regular basis on my carpet. I vacuum once a week, but when I really want to do a deep clean, I'll also do this and I'll comb up as much as I can. And it's crazy what this thing picks up. Every good showgirl knows how to keep the things that you don't want seen hidden. So we have the furniture equivalent to pasties. This is a hack that I did to cover up torn material from my cat scratching this furniture. I just got a really pretty iron-on patch on Etsy and I ironed it on. I will say that they have still tried to scratch this, so it has pulled away. So there are a few pieces here that it's pinned down. I do plan to maybe sew it down, but it covered up everything that I didn't want seen. And then also I put tape to the front of here, which isn't quite as aesthetically pleasing, but it's kind of the equivalent of taping the parts of the costume that you don't want to move down to your body so that you're preventing any mishaps from happening in the future. So this is just preventing any further scratches from happening on the areas of the sofa that are still intact. And here we are in my hallway with the pièce de résistance.
Don't ever do that again.
The showstopper of the cat lady upgrade glamour. And that is selecting the right cat tree. Most cat trees are gray and carpet covered, and that's not giving anyone glamour. So I challenge you to spend just a little bit more money, not crazy amounts, although you can if you want, and get something that looks a little more like furniture than some carpeted gray mess that's going to become absolutely covered in cat hair. And for me, that looked like getting this. So I fell in love with Carrie Bradshaw's cat tree on And Just Like That. It is this gorgeous tree-like structure that is wrapped in rope and has nice fuzzy pillows inside of wicker baskets. And it was one of the first times that my brain started to compute that I actually could get a cat tree that looked relatively like furniture, or at least like decor that I wanted to have in my home. I looked into it and that cat tree is like $400. So I am not ready to upgrade to quite that much glamour. And also I wanted something that was going to allow my cats to get up high to what I think is currently out of the shop, but the top of this linen closet that I recently converted into a fashion boutique. We'll do a video on that later. And my cats, especially Harley, who is just giving us a little visit. love to get to the highest point in the room. And so she was always really curious about that. When I would hold her and walk by, she would want to get up there. And so I was wanting to find something that was going to not only allow her entertainment of other sorts, but that would allow her to get up to that lofted area. So I knew that I needed something that was low profile, that was going to fit in this hallway and not interrupt the flow of traffic. And that was the key point in looking for the things that I was looking for. But I also knew that I wanted something that looked a little more like furniture, like it belonged in this space. If you are going to get a carpeted cat tree, I recommend at least going like full on fun and fuzzy and get something really cute and sort of like kawaii aesthetic. They make some that look like cactuses. I used to have one that looked like clouds and stars and moons. If you're gonna have the ridiculousness of a soft, fuzzy, carpeted piece of furniture in your home, don't try to make it a neutral. It's not a neutral. It's going to stick out like a sore thumb, so you might as well have fun with it. If you can find a cat tree that incorporates furniture grade wood or at least higher quality wood, and in my personal opinion, the rope scratchers instead of the carpet scratchers are all going to look a little more aesthetically pleasing. It's still a cat tree. It's not going to be the fanciest piece of furniture in your house, but this fit the bill. It was low profile against the wall. It was furniture grade wood. It had the rope. It went all the way to the ceiling, so I knew that they could access that lofted area. Bane loves to sleep in this little house. They both love to sleep in this little hammock. They don't utilize what may not be in the shot, but is a glass bowl area that I thought was going to be so cute because I'd be able to see their little feet and everything curled up into it. So now it's just where we keep their toys, which is kind of fun because then they have to climb up the cat tree to pick the toy that they want to play with and then climb back down. So it's super cute. This is our show-stopping number when it comes to cat lady glamour. If you're going to have something this large in your house, it at least looks halfway decent and you can make it fit your aesthetic. So I actually took the wood coloring on this and incorporated some knobs on my fashion boutique in my hallway to match. So there is ways to make the egregious cat tree situation a little more glamorous. Hopefully you took something away from this experience on how to take a note from my book, from the glamorous Taylor Swift's book. And remember,
3 cats is a cat lady, 2 cats is a party.
And neither one of those has to be any less glamorous than 1 or no cats. And also, drop in the comments which track on The Life of the Showgirl that you're obsessing over, because I feel like mine is going to be track 5. Shout out to my fellow eldest daughters. Do you want to come hang out with me while I film? Can I hold you and the microphone at the same time? Okay, let's just hang out here. Oh no, don't scratch me. Oh, okay.